Balls. Some of us have them, and it's important to check on them because statistically 1 man every hour is diagnosed with testicular cancer. In fact, it is the most common form of cancer for men ages 15 to 35, which is why I've joined up with Manscaped to give you a special offer. They've teamed up with the Testicular Cancer Society to help promote self-checking and save some lives. And you, dear viewer, have the chance to help as well. Introducing the TCS Ball Hero Bundle, headlined by the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This special edition razor comes with interchangeable skin-safe blades, as well as an LED light so you can navigate those tricky spots. It's both cordless and waterproof, and I know the importance of having a strong engine, which is why I love the Lawnmower's constant RPM motor that doesn't waver with battery loss. And as the icing on the cake, your bundle also comes with these special edition TCS boxers. They're anti-chafing, breathable, stylish, and just for your nuts, your bollocks, your gonads are designed with this patented jewel pouch. There to cradle your cullions and remind you to check yourself, because that's what it's all about, spreading awareness of this disease. And if you'd like to do your part, head to manscaped.com and use my promo code ELLY, E-L-L-Y, to get 20% off plus free shipping while supplies last. Again, that's promo code ELLY at manscaped.com. Join the Manscaped movement and don't forget to take care of your pair.
What's up everyone, NASCAR driver Josh Bilicki here, and thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video.
It was the legendary broadcaster Ken Squire who described NASCAR as
common man doing uncommon deeds.
But how common are they really? Of course, Ken's referring to the drivers of yesteryear, the David Pearsons, the Bobby Allisons, the Bobby Isaacs, but what about the drivers of today?
Retired NASCAR driver Kevin Harvick is living out a Hollywood dream.
He and his wife are now the proud owners of Ricky Bobby's mansion from Talladega Nights.
I'm getting bored, man. You want to come over and play G.I. Joe's?
I would love to. No! Come on! Screw you, man!
I think it's safe to say they don't share the same hard-nosed grassroots proletariat backgrounds as their predecessors, which is why this Twitter post from @DabForDale caught my eye. It's a handy-dandy NASCAR Cup Series nepotism guide, color-coding drivers by how much help they've gotten to get to where they are. Most of them are highlighted in green, the ones that either proved themselves naturally or were such outliers that their spot in Cup was all but assured. Then there's a few other colors, orange, yellow, blue. These are the guys who, while maybe not coddled, have had some sort of in. They're the offspring of former drivers, have ties to big sponsors, or were brought up by NASCAR itself. But then there's these guys, the ones in red. These are the 8 drivers I want to talk about today, because although they're all lumped into the same category, not all Nepo babies are created equal. I believe that within this spectrum lies another spectrum that reflects the condition, and some would say problem, of nepotism in NASCAR. We start in the green with by far the most accomplished of the bunch, Brad Keselowski. To be honest, even putting him on this list feels blasphemous, but for uniformity's sake, I'll still do it, because he did come from a racing family. His uncle is Ron Keselowski, his brother is Brian Keselowski, and his father was Bob Keselowski, an ARCA Series champion and Truck Series winner. Also the owner of K Automotive Motorsports, the team where Brad would make his very first NASCAR starts. This, however, is where the money trail ended, as a lack of sponsorship forced Keselowski to jump ship from his own birthright to pursue other opportunities, which eventually led him to Junior Motorsports, and then to Hendrick Motorsports, and then to Team Penske, where it's fair to say he did all right for himself. Brad might have had some help getting on the grid, but everything thereafter he did himself, which is why I respect him. Not only has he added to the Keselowski family legacy, but has even followed in his father's footsteps, founding his own Truck Series team and hosting one of the most impressive driver lineups we've ever seen. He now co-owns a Cup Series team, orchestrating the improbable rebound of Roush Racing. And while his father didn't live long enough to see it, safe to say, I think he'd be proud. By the letter of the law, Brad belongs on this list. But by the spirit, he is as far in the green as one possibly could be. A similar sentiment lies with Justin Haley, nephew of Todd Brown, owner of Brown Motorsports. Of course, like Keselowski, this is where Haley kicked off his career in the Truck Series, and also like Keselowski, bailed after 2 years to drive for another team. With GMS Racing, Haley was competitive, and with Colleague Racing, he was a contender. But his start in the Cup Series was a curious one. In 2019, the rookie driver signed with a rookie team, Inspire Motorsports, to run 3 select races, of which he finished 32nd, 34th, and 1st. Yeah, you'd be forgiven for forgetting that Justin Haley is a Cup Series winner. On a rainy day in Daytona, after NASCAR told its drivers that they were about to restart the race, a bunch of the front runners, understandably, came down to top off on fuel. But then the lights on the pace truck came back on. Apparently another lightning strike forced NASCAR to delay the rest of the race, a race that would never be restarted. And that's how Justin Haley got his first and to this day only Cup Series win. But that's not to say he hasn't been competitive. The new look Spire Motorsports has produced some decent results so far, with Haley running as high as second in the last race at Bristol. Perhaps the black and yellow brigade can shine once again, but as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't exactly embody nepotism. Not like the Dillon brothers. They sit a little bit further down the spectrum, as while they've both seen their fair share of accolades in the lower levels, a lot of those have come by virtue of the team that they raced for. One of the most successful teams in NASCAR history, owned by their grandfather, Richard Childress. All the way through their youth and into adulthood, Pop oversaw the entirety of their origins, from their earliest excursions in Bandoleros to their rise through NASCAR's ranks. But this is where we find the discrepancy. You see, once he got to the Cup Series, Ty Dillon didn't sign with RCR, despite having multiple chances to. Instead, he signed with smaller affiliates like Levine Family Racing and Germain Racing, and eventually split from the company entirely, as with the exception of a few starts here and there, Ty hasn't raced in the family business for almost 5 years now. Sure, he hasn't found much success, but I have to respect the effort of a man doing things his own way, no shortcuts. The same cannot be said about his brother. I have talked ad nauseum about the underperformance of Austin Dillon because something about him just sticks in my craw. Now, he's far from being the worst driver ever and is no doubt the superior sibling, but his transition to the Cup Series was about as uncontroversial as the career that followed. When Dale Earnhardt died, it was assumed that the number 3 had died with him, as Childress vowed to park that number for good. Until Austin Dillon showed up. Now, seeing him run it in trucks at Xfinity was one thing, but his grandpa bringing it back to the Cup Series, that raised some eyebrows. It's like the Bulls letting someone else wear 23, and Dillon is no MJ. While he has won some races here and there, every single one of them has some sort of asterisk. 2017, fuel saving. 2018, collateral damage. 2020, reduced horsepower. 2022, the fucking weather. 2024, attempted murder. Every single one of his Cup Series wins has come at the expense of something smart or something stupid. As for his other 412 starts, he tends to be pretty blasé, far from befitting of the legend he followed. This is why many fans, myself included, believe that the number 3 should have never come back. Though AD's not the only one with a relational stake in ownership. Lesser known is the lineage of fellow Austin Cindric, and Stone Cold Custer, but make no mistake, they're sons of royalty too. Sons of Tim Cindric, president of Team Penske, and Joe Custer, president of Haas, both of whom have held those positions for some time. That's why it's assumed that Austin and Cole, both Xfinity Series champions and Cup Series winners, have more job security than most, though despite their high standing, at least their names aren't on the building. That honor is reserved for arguably the most scathing embodiment of partisanship in the sport today. As the grandson of an owner with a super team, Tai Gibbs has gotten the full-ride Joe Gibbs Racing Scholarship, as from the ripe old age of 14, Grandpa has lent a helping hand holding a 7-figure check in every step of Ty's career. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Of course, Coach would want the best for his grandson, but forcing out his most successful driver to make room, all the while said grandson is wrecking his teammates and comparing himself to Jesus?
That was no part of the plan.
And so far, his Cup career hasn't been going to plan either. At Martinsville a few weeks ago, he quietly overtook JJ Yeley as the longest tenured JGR driver to not win a single race. At this point in 2007, they had no problem giving old JJ the heave-ho, but I seriously doubt that'll happen with Ty. Not just because his name's on the building, but because, in all honesty, he wouldn't deserve it. Just like Cindric and Custer, he's an Xfinity Series champion. Now granted, he was driving a car that won a third of the races in the year before, you'd have to be deaf, blind, and dumb not to win in it, or just be Ty Dillon, but still, he brought it to where it belonged, and there's something to be said for that. Love him, hate him, despise him, the results speak for themselves. Gibbs can wheel a car, but even if he couldn't, would that really matter? No matter how good or bad of a job he does, he'll always have a job. Is it right? Wrong? Who's to say? But that's the way it is. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's still one left. Who could possibly be worse than Ty Gibbs? Oh, right. Just like how sometimes I forget about Justin Haley's first win, sometimes I forget this man exists. Cody Wear, son of team owner Rick Ware, is now in his ninth year of Cup racing, and I honestly don't know where the time went. RWR is the textbook definition of field filler, and thus has left open a revolving door that 40 different drivers have walked in and out of. Yet only one has stayed put through all that time, for no other reason than his last name. And in that time, Ware boasts an incredible 115 starts with as many top 5s as he has arrests. 1. And by the way, the same can be said about his brother, minus the top 5. In every other case we've discussed, there's at least some modicum of reason keeping them in the car, but this is the exception. There's no reason why in 2025, Cody Wear should still be in the Cup Series, although to be fair, it's not like that car would be doing much better without him. But still, couldn't it do without him? I'm sure there are thousands of young racers that would be tickled by the chance to finish last in the RB's car. They might even finish one spot better. So why do these same names keep reappearing? If NASCAR really is meant to feature the best racers in the country, isn't it redundant to stick to the same losing formula? Maybe, but like I said, that's the way it is. In fact, that's how it's always been. Like most professions, it's not about what you know, but who you know. And knowing people in NASCAR has always been paramount. Every career starts with correspondence, professional or otherwise. Even some of the greatest of all time, like Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt, have come from a racing background because success in one generation often bleeds into the next. Hell, Dale Earnhardt literally started a team just so he could race with his son, and a lot of other fathers have shared the same sentiment. That's why many of today's stars aren't the first, but the second and sometimes third generations of NASCAR racers and their families. So are we really, genuinely, actually watching the best race car drivers in the country? Who knows? But for those of you who think this is a problem, I've got news for you. It's not going away. You could spend 16 hours a day, 365 days a year with your ass in a sim rig, but without those connections, you may as well put the fries in the bag. And when Owen Larson, Brexton Busch, Keelan Harvick, and Cash Boyer are racing for the 2045 Cup Series championship, don't say I didn't warn you.